Alright, so let us know if you can hear and see. Just type that through. Let's just take a moment to gather ourselves, all of the errant energies that run all over the place, and bring it into Satsang. Okay, namaste and welcome to Satsang. It's helpful to keep in mind that Satsang is just simply a time to let all normal life world concerns go and dive as deep as you can into your practice. So give yourself some space to do that tonight. The energy of tonight's satsang is different from the last one. So it's kind of altering because different aspects of Shiva are being brought through. So these are also two completely different Shivlings. I know they look the same, but they're not. So we have one that's for cleansing, but in a different way. And this is for like bolstering or supporting or strengthening, inner strength, inner support, inner kind of bolstering. Since Shiva does all things, then and always for good reasons, then when we connect to different blessings, it's just different ways of participating with an intangible energy. So if you have your own mind, let's say, and you don't feel strong, then to strengthen yourself feels almost like an impossibility. But if you see someone and they're strong, it reminds you of strength, and that becomes easier. If you are just walking down the street, you just feel an energy of strength. If you're not in a low state where it's hard to feel anything, but if you just kind of sense an energy of strength, you may feel strengthened. Maybe the way that the trees are built, or the way that Mother Nature is landscaped, or how it was constructed, by the cosmic powers that be. Maybe that reminds you of strength. So whatever the reason, something must trigger within you kind of the remembrance of strength. So we're going to be doing kind of a puja. I was actually going to do a little bit external, just with the abhishekam, the water, and then the rest we're going to do manas puja, so all visualization. But all of these things kept arising left and right, so we're going to make use of them. So we'll do some inner. You can do it your own way. Never think that you have to do it a certain way. A lot of and this is one of the ways it gets kind of spoken about, that there's different aspects of the rules of Maya that require you to approach the divine in certain ways. But Shiva is looked at as one kind of the supreme personification, or beyond personification, if you will, of the divine, that does not care what the way was that you approached the divine. It was all about the intention, the purity and strength or level of intensity of the intention. And thank God for that principle, because most of us don't really know how to approach the divine. So that might be all we got. So we just have to do our best and try, and always know that every attempt there may not be Shivaling, around you in some visible way, but every good attempt of yours, every effort that you make, is basically your offering to the invisible cosmic Shivaling. So it's a good way of looking at it. So like everything is an offering, it's not lost. Now if you do a good thing but you do it for you, it's not really an offering to the divine, because it never goes past your little bubble of self. It may feel like it helped you, it may be beneficial for you, it may help other people, which is a good thing, and then their view of you is good, so then it helps you too. Somehow it stays inside of the limited universe of self and others. But if you want to make a true offering and extend beyond the limited linear framework of reality and go into the supreme, go into the eternal abode of Shiva and Parvati, obviously, just the supreme reality beyond all names, really, titles, forms, and aspects or qualities. If we're really going to go towards that, we have to go beyond the normal way that we think, beyond even the extraordinary way that we think, beyond the normal and extraordinary ways that we might act. We have to go beyond what can be observed and understood. So we're going to have that be the entire focal point of this particular satsang. So remember that Shiva is the energy of goodness, so grace, goodness, mercy, forgiveness, that's why when you see the followers of Shiva, it's the gods and the demons. It's like everyone in between, the highest, the lowest, and all in between all follow Shiva, because Shiva rejects no one. So you are following a divine principle that cannot, by the nature of what it is, reject you. So no matter how much you may feel like you have messed up, current life, past life, this life, and the history, it doesn't really matter. So as long as you become clear on what you do that kind of malaligns you, and you make an effort to change and realign, then you are forgiven, but you are doing your work to make the connection real again. So many times when we don't feel like we can reconnect, we think that maybe God has some issue with us. Like, I don't feel reconnected, maybe God doesn't like me, maybe Guru doesn't like me, maybe, some principle like that. Usually it's a guilt-based one, a regret, I've been like this or that. But this whole principle of Shiva is that everything is, kind of holding you, helping you, assisting you, guiding you, bringing you to the ultimate reality of yourself. So you don't have to worry about God doing God's part. God doesn't fail doing God's part. So that means that the grace that you need is there. Now the question is, are you making good use of it? So when we come to satsang, there should be one focus, which is to access the grace. Use it in the way that deepens our own attunement and takes us all the way through. To kind of not overlook it. It's very easy, actually, when you start doing a lot of spiritual practice and read a lot of spiritual books and have a lot of satsangs and a lot of kirtanam and just so much stuff going on, it is very, very easy to start taking it for granted. It slips into the realm of normalcy. First, it's special, right? You have normal life, and then you have spiritual life, and all the spiritual things are special for you. Then later, you might feel that everything kind of becomes spiritual in focus, so your whole life kind of gets a special view. And then after that, sometimes when there's some low energies that are arising and purifying, haven't been dealt with yet, it can sometimes take our entire spiritual view and start muddying it up, and we don't even know it. It's very slick, if you will, the way that Maya just kind of comes through and just coats your once pristine spiritual view, and now it's no longer clean. It's very, very sneaky, very slick. So it just kind of creeps right in there and you don't even know. So this is always pointing back to the necessity for a choice to be as pristinely aligned with the divine as possible, which is two parts. One is the worship/connection. Worship, I don't mean make yourself like a little kind of, insecure, useless organism praising the highest. I don't mean it like that, worship. I mean constant devotional loving attunement to that which created all and is all of life and death and everything, so connecting to the entire principle of life, of nature, of creation. So we have that part, which is the connection, making sure that we remain connected. That's always very important. That alone takes, for most of us, like a life just to figure it out. How am I going to do that? But it can be done fast. It can be done in a matter of short years. But that requires how much you believe that it's a benefit to you. You know how it goes, like with any fad or trend. If somehow it is presented as a benefit to you, you get hooked, you get attached, you get addicted to it. You don't want to drop it because it is the benefit. At any time your mind tells you that there's a benefit greater than God or grace or worship or surrender, you will lose sight of your path. And as that drops, you'll feel yourself kind of being taken over by more of a world set of a mind, kind of focused on things, interested in things mind, and the idea of spiritual practice. It might still be there for you, but you might feel it as normal and not that special. And yet there's a level where one might be at the highest, and life is God, life is worship, life is that. But for most practitioners, they're not near that. So it's important to keep spiritual time as a very sacred time, a special time, and not to equalize it with life yet. There'll be a time where it becomes equalized. Life becomes God, God becomes life, all is God. But at that level, you don't practice anymore because you have nothing left to work out. So if you're still in a zone of working things out, you better keep God special. You better keep practice special. That can be the death of your path. If you don't treat God or satsang or the connection with grace as special, that may be the death of your path. It's very easy to happen, so it's not supposed to be a scary message. It's just reality. That's how things are. So keep it special, keep it sacred, prioritize. God is your reason for waking up in the morning. God is your reason for eating. You eat to fuel the body so that you can maintain focus to connect and worship God and act out the particular karma yoga, whatever seva you may have. Your voice is there to speak about divine topics. Not that you have to proselytize, I never say that, obviously. But it's just that if you're going to speak, it's not about what the word is, it's about what you know you're talking about. Your knowledge should ride along what you say. You may say something that sounds smart, you may say something that sounds normal. It doesn't matter. What you know about life should carry with what you say. And if it doesn't, then that's a serious consideration. Okay, am I in normal chatty mind, or am I chatting with people, but I'm in a depth consciousness where nothing can shake me, nothing can, knock me down or mess me up. So these are very important things to consider. Keep God special, and even when it's everything, it'll still be special. It's just that there's nothing more special than anything else. It's all special. So if you don't feel that all of life is special, and bliss and joy and peace and happiness and goodness and all one eternal reality, which is the divine, is the Shiva, that if you don't normally experience your infinite self as all of that goodness, then you're not at that level. If you fluctuate, you're not at that level. Fluctuations, there's a huge range all over the place of different expanded levels of consciousness that are not near that zone that I'm talking about. They're on the way, but they're not near that zone. So we have to make sure that we keep God special outside and inside, and in other people too. You have to see it in other people. If you are one of those people who chooses to see God on an altar, but not in your best friend's heart or in a stranger's soul, then what use is your worship? Because you're never going to make it. If you never choose to see God everywhere, then what are you doing? What's your path even about? So you have to strive to find God in places that somehow your mind and heart have convinced you that God is not there. And that's what God's asking you. God basically has one message for you. Love everything relentlessly. I don't care what form it takes. I don't care what it says. I don't care how it acts. I don't care how it looks. I don't care what rules it's breaking. I don't care how organized something is. You must love it intensely. You have no other job description. Because within it is the seed of love. In the Upanishads, as I've stated before, I read some verses to you before, where the praise is going towards the way that God is referred to as the Lord of Love. So simply saying the Lord of Love is in the heart of all. Look towards the Lord of Love and you'll never be lost. So if you're trying to really find the Lord of Love, you must love, because that is your Lord's name. So if you're trying to find God spiritually through practices and mysticism and mantra, yantra, tantra, yoga, pranayama, and everything, but the love isn't there, you have to reevaluate what you're looking for. Are you looking for love, endless love, or are you looking for power? You might not think power over someone, like a manipulative power, but you're looking for a strength to get what you want, which might be to be happy all the time. But it's a self-centered thing. If that's your experience, it should be a love that makes other people feel love. It should be a happiness that makes others happy. So that's how you make it non-self-centered. A lot of times people look towards the path for a personal goal because they want to be happy. They don't want to suffer anymore. They want to feel enlightened. They want to be in the annals of the history greats as a sage or a saint or something. But that's not the point of the path. We are trying to simply open our hearts and minds, drop wrong identification, allow reality to exist, and let the Shakti be free and available for all. Anyone who chooses to connect and attune and partake of it may receive it. Simple as that. So you want to be like the sun and just shine, So as we attune to God, in whatever way it really means something to you, really kind of evaluate maybe your special, we'll call it, your special relationship with God. What is that to you? So it's very important to keep it clean. Always be evaluating and reevaluating your relationship with the Supreme. Always. Make sure it's clean. It needs to stay pristine. If you bring impurity inside of your relationship with God, then the impurity no longer makes it a God relationship, because impurity doesn't exist with God in that way. So if you bring the impurity with your relationship or into the relationship that you feel you hold with God, then your relationship's no longer really there. This doesn't mean, I'm not stating that you have to be pure in order to approach God. You can, the whole idea of approaching God is that you're impure and you're trying to become pure. You're moving towards purity, so you have to drop the impurities as you get closer. It's like you're traveling and you've got a lot of luggage and you just got to keep letting it go, because if you want to get to the destination point, which we can just call a luggage-free zone, you have to keep on dropping all of the luggage, everything you're carrying with you and dragging forward. You have to stop dragging it and let it go. Release it and walk on. So we're going to do some connection practices, aka worship. So you don't have to, again, think of worship in a particular way. You can work with it whatever kind of fills your heart and makes you feel like it's special. Obviously, if you throw non-duality in the mix, specialness dies right about there. So you want to do what you need to do. Think about it in a way that makes you feel like it's a very special process that's going on. So remember, the specialness is something that can carry on, go forward. If you feel like it's too exclusive, if your God is too exclusive and too special, then the solution isn't to drop the specialness of God, but to bring God for you into normal life. Make life just as special as your spiritual path. Everything becomes an altar for your beloved. So when we're doing puja, it's, funny enough, is that you're worshiping the highest principles, which just happen to be you. But at the same time, you're in a state of forgetfulness, so you don't know that, and then so you feel like you're worshiping a God that is separate from you, which is fine. But so as we're doing this, you can try to switch your orientations and ask, what are we doing? Because if Shiva is the God of dissolution, of letting go, of release, let go of all that you know yourself to be, then what are we doing here as we are offering to Shiva? Everything that we're offering is a sign of letting go, letting go, letting go. This time I'm not going to mention really what we're offering and what it's for. I do that so much, it takes up a lot of time. Most of you already remember this stuff, so we're just going to go forward. But just understand, if anyone's new tuning in, everything that we're going to offer is a way of connecting a certain, not just one part, but many, sometimes multiple parts of yourself to the divine. So you're connecting all the normal parts of your being, and maybe parts that are normal for people who've gone beyond, but maybe for you it might not be normal, but it's still a part of you. So let's just say it this way, it connects the parts of you that you can see and feel and touch and taste and sense and experience your life, and the ones that you can't, but there's still a part of you driving your personality, driving your mechanism of desires and resistance, driving your life direction. So all of that is being kind of offered to the highest supreme version of yourself. So that's kind of what we're doing in this whole process. So Isha's going to sing are we going to start with that one? Rudrashtakam? We're going to start. Okay, so we're going to start with that one, which is 8 verses dedicated to Shiva. Basically talking about how Shiva is the everything. So.
Do you want to read the translation? Do you want to read the translation roughly?
Maybe some parts of it, just so people can know what it is. So one part is talking about Shiva. We're worshiping or connecting to Shiva, who is formless, beyond the 3 gunas, beyond speech, beyond knowledge, beyond senses, the giver of grace, the perfect one who brings awe and reverence within, the Lord of time, so the ruler of all things from within and without. So the idea also of Shiva living on top of Mount Kailash, one of the ways of looking at that symbolically is that Mount Kailash is not a place where you can live and survive. So it's not an earthly place. It's not human. It's not world consciousness. So, we can be around places that we are used to the convenience of life. Plus, around Mount Kailash, you're not going to have food at the ready, and everything you need is just going to be snowy and frozen. So the idea is that it's also such a high altitude, so you're kind of beyond, the normal consciousness of humanity. You're above and beyond. So that's the idea. So when you hear about, Lord Shiva living atop Mount Kailash, then you can have some sense of it. So Shiva is unmoved. So no matter what happens, nothing can move Shiva. So if you can't find the absolute reality, how can you push it or move it or change it or pick it up and relocate it? Like, it's not an object that can be tossed around or attacked or even appealed to. So we're not appealing to someone. We are recognizing what's good for us, which is to release everything that is impure or not good, just to align with what's true. Okay, what's true is what's good, what's not true is what state we're normally in, which is why we all know that it doesn't feel good, or we wouldn't be trying to do this to begin with. So when it says upon whose head resides the sacred goddess Ganga, very profound symbol. So Ganga represents spiritual purity. So if you want to reside on Shiva's head, so to speak, not that Shiva has a head per se, but if you want to reside on Shiva's head, then you need to be spiritually pure. No malady can exist. So Ganga has been said to be like the utmost pure. So if you want to be that pure, or if you want to reside on Shiva's head or be within Shiva's consciousness, which is what it means to be on Shiva's head. So this energy of spiritual purity resides in Shiva's head, in Shiva's consciousness. So if you want to be in the mind of God, in the consciousness of the divine, then you must be spiritually pure, which is why we do tapasya. Like, what's the point? Why would you purify yourself? Well, because when you become pure, and God is pure, when you become as pure as God, you become like God. You become merged with God. But if I have some sediment or impurity within me, and God's totally pure, I stick out. So it's just this process of purifying. That's why we do this. This is all going to purify you. Not in the normal sense we're used to, where it's just like a Mack truck hits you and you can't get up out of bed in the morning. So when it talks about how beautiful they are, when you hear about that with the gods and the goddesses, with Shiva here, it says that he's so beautiful, and his eyebrows and eyes are beautiful, and his ears and everything's beautiful. What it means is that, like Sundaram, so it's the essence of beauty. It's not beauty because it's beauty. Well, it's not beauty because how it looks. It's beauty because what it is. When something's pure, immaculate, and divine, it's beautiful because of what it is, not because of how it looks. So when you hear those references, people in more of a superficial consciousness will take it like that. Oh, Shiva is beautiful because he looks like this, because the verses sound like that. But there are also things that you have to look at. So whose eyes are beautiful? Well, what's the eye of God? The eyes of God are all of creation. The Trambakam, the three-eyed Shiva. So that's the gunas, essentially. Tamoguna, the dense aspects of reality, and the darker kind of solid aspects of life. It feels like it's slower and more solid, less luminous. And then you have Rajas, which is more action, but it's trying to move away from the solidity and the snail's pace kind of process and mode of life. And then you have Sattva, which is the self-effulgent reality. It needs to do nothing. It just doesn't have to proclaim its purity. It's pure because of what it is. It's luminous because of its nature. It doesn't have to try to become luminous. Rajas has to try, has to try to be luminous, has to try to be, whatever its qualities. So the form of Rudra Rup, the form, is the best, perfect, eternal, unborn, the opulent one. The effulgence of 1,000,000 suns, and a trident in one hand. The trident is the staff that has the three parts that everyone, pretty sure you know what a trident is. But those three parts are the three gunas. And they all converge into one, and they all come out of the one. So Shiva is in control of by being in virtue, in command, in and as the one, holds the one, then all three are controlled. So all aspects of life are controlled because, Shiva is that, is the one. It is command. That's why it's in the hand. He's in command. It's not like it's pointed at him or it's over there somewhere. If it's anywhere, it's behind him, meaning it's just there. It's like not really a thing. He's either holding it or it's behind him. Many times you see the trident behind him. And the last part, I'm just skipping around a little bit, but this is nice. Shiva is often called the god of the simple-minded, which is a beautiful way of looking at God. It means that you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be successful in life. You can be broke, you can be poor, you can be destitute, you can be living on the streets, you can have a hard go of everything. Nothing works out for you. And God is still, so to speak, your shepherd, still there for you, still helping you, still guiding you, still waiting for you to call and use the energy, the guidance. You can still find enlightenment. You don't need to have your life get back in order before you can find enlightenment. You can find it then. When your whole life dies and falls apart, you can find it then. So, saying, this is a verse where it says, I don't know yoga, or how to properly do, it's not saying that, but how to properly do penance or puja or prayer or worship. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This is an American way of saying it. But I always honor you, and to me you are the grace that frees me. And that's it. Just to know that is what establishes the connection. You don't have to do anything, just to maintain that in mind. When we do this, it's to enhance that understanding of this is a very special relationship, and it's here for one reason only, to assist us with our own liberation or salvation, to free us. And that's it. It doesn't matter what saint or sage it comes through. Grace is grace. No body of a name or a saint owns it, So what they are isn't even the body that you see. They're that, but they're all other bodies. This is where it gets more complicated to understand if you don't already know these things. But so anyway, that's kind of the gist of what we're going to be chanting. So you are connecting with that reality that has one job, which is to free you. And that's that reality's job, and it doesn't care whether or not you do this right. There's always, I don't know if you know this stuff, but if you look around, Sanskrit forums, they're all talking about the chanting. You have to chant like this, you have to act like this, you have to do it this way, you have to circumambulate the temple this way. It's like, those are rules that are given for disciplines to follow when you're an undisciplined person. When you are disciplined in the inside and you always have a connection with God, a lot of those things don't mean anything to you anymore. There was once a saint who said he was yelled at because everyone is worshiping the front of the deity and he went to the back. So, the priests were upset with him. He says, how dare you, it's so disrespectful. And he said, God's everywhere. What's your problem? In a way of saying, which is true, God is everywhere. You don't need a statue of Lakshmi to be worshiping Lakshmi. You don't need a statue of Christ to worship Christ. You don't need a statue of... How would you make a statue of the eternal, first off? This was one of the attempts, Shivling. It's like, okay, well, let's just say that this means the coming together of creation, of the power of consciousness and kind of dynamism, energy, Shakti, consciousness and energy. Because that's the two things that you see that exist, right? You have an experience of the energetic forms and you're watching them also. You experience the energy and see the movement and experience all the movement, but there's another part that never moves. Maybe you don't know your consciousness yet, which is likely, but you have both, and both are you. First they look like two separate things, and you get to know one more than the other, and then maybe vice versa. But then you realize that they've never been separate, and that's what this particular creation of God is to represent. So it's representing something that can't be represented. So this is an attempt to make something as meaningful as possible with it. But, use, some out-of-the-box thinking when also approaching God. So we're going to go into this process here. So Isha will be chanting, and again, during the Om Namah Shivaya aspect of it, I'll offer some things. You can just have an intention to connect. I'm going to be offering these on behalf of you, and Isha, because she will always be busy singing. So she won't have time to do this during our satsangs. The bell also. So everything you offer takes the energy of it. So when I offer the bell, the sound, then the sound becomes a carrier wave of this energy. For instance, what people normally do is they have a statue of the divine and they just ring the bell because it's protocol. I'm supposed to ring the bell. Well, if you don't offer it to this consciousness, it doesn't take the tone of this consciousness. It just is you ringing a bell. And maybe the bell was blessed and you lucked out, but typically what you're supposed to be doing is when something is consecrated, then you offer everything, even sound, even your chanting. So when Isha is chanting and singing, then her job would be to offer it here. And if you're going to chant along, your job is to offer it to the Shivling as well. And then that's how you keep the energy of satsang continuous, uniform. But let's say that if I'm singing some mantras and I'm thinking of something totally random, then I'm not even a part of this satsang. I'm singing mantras, but I'm not somehow participating. So it's a good thing to consider. So when you are practicing at home, are you kind of, in a sense, shuttling along your energy towards the object of focus? That's why we've been putting the padukas here, the wooden sandals, so that you can have a point of offering and connection and worship and all of that. So now we have this today, God in all of its forms.
Natama Jaya Shiva Omkara Artham Hitara Tara 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 Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva Artham Hitara Tara Brahma Vishnu Shambho, sweet is the one who gives us pure sight. How sweet is the love. How sweet is the light. How sweet is the one who gives us pure sight.
With an intention to maintain connection, just take a few deep breaths just to help refresh, re-establish, and regenerate your prana. May you feel the energy of Satsang carrying with you throughout the remainder of your day, the night, the whole week. May you feel it strengthening your path, your focus, and putting spirituality on a whole new level of kind of specialness within your mind and your heart, and always constantly revering your capacity to make a connection with the ultimate. Have a beautiful remainder of your evening. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste, and we'll see you next time.